pleasure of sitting here today at the IBSi Intelligence Next Generation Core Banking Summit with Arun Arunachalam, who is the VP and Head of Product Management at TCS Solutions. Thank you, Arun, for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me.
A pleasure. So Arun was on a panel just earlier on discussing what the next generation of core banking systems is going to look like. And one of the main highlights from the panel was the hollowing the core approach. So maybe you could tell us a bit more around what has been discussed and what TCS approach is when it comes to hollowing the core.
See, hollowing the core means different for different banks, right? And it's more an approach that they take for transformation of core banking, existing core banking systems, right? And in a sense, if you look at banks, and hollowing the core is applicable more to the tier 1, the large banks who have established core banking engines, right? And if you look at it from their perspective, either they take typically one of the three approaches that we have seen, right? The first approach they say is, can you actually move the entire product processors into a microservice where the rest can remain in the existing core banking engine, right? Or can we actually move just the ledgers, right, or the transaction postings out, because that is what actually requires tremendous cloud computing capacity, right? Leave the rest to the existing core banking engine. Or can we actually just start with the peripheral microservices, be it on the reference data or, or some what I would call as peripheral processes like KYC, AML, etc., and leave the rest with the core banking engine, right? So there are different approaches in terms of how they approach, how they actually, move into a microservice vis-a-vis the existing, the core banking engine that banks are looking at. Yeah.
Interesting. And I remember from the panel one very powerful point was we're actually rethinking the very idea of core, of the word core, because now core banking systems rely on a series of microservices and are very modular, very flexible, very customer-centric. So maybe you could expand a bit on that, and what's your take when it comes to...
Our vision or our view is that a core banking system will evolve into what we call as a catalog of microservices, cloud-native microservices which are deployed on a cloud, right? And then finally available for subscription. You actually choose which is the microservice you want, right? And then you only use that. So I think our view is, yes, you have a core banking engine, but it will evolve into a catalog of microservices. And that's a journey all of us are on, right? That's the way we kind of look at it, just to keep the answer short.
Absolutely. And just to wrap it up, if you had to make one key prediction on the future of the core banking vertical and where the industry is headed, what would that be?
See, I think 3 years ago, none of us thought that there would be so much adoption of the cloud. Now it's actually happened, right? So the adoption of cloud is a no-brainer. Everybody is doing it, right? We are probably another 2 to 3 years away from adoption of microservices in the same scale, right? I think that is the next logical progression that we see, and hence the concept of composable architecture that we spoke about in the panel would become very, very critical. Right?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your insights.
Thank you.